I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Okay.
Now
can you hear me now?
Yes,
we do hear you. I've muted everyone's microphone to avoid any background noise.
Okay. Is it going to be muted throughout the show?
It's your preference.
Whoever does not want to be muted, they can unmute. You know, it could be a mix. I don't care.
Okay.
I want them to hear me.
I just unmuted you.
Okay. I think it'd be nice if we hear everybody so that we can laugh at the joke. So perfect. I prefer if Valerie can hear us.
Okay.
I think that speaker Valerie needs to be put her camera down a little bit more, and maybe center her that better into her back so that her can see her. That's better.
Better?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Valerie, some of the people lip read.
Okay.
That's right, so they need to see your lip.
Okay. Are you doing a meeting first, or am I supposed to start now?
You are on.
Oh, okay.
The stage is yours.
Okay. Well, first of all, I am so happy to be here. And I'm grateful for Zoom because I resisted it for a while. And I don't know if many of you know that Melanie is my cousin. And we reconnected on Facebook and Zoom, and she happened to come to one of my shows. And several weeks later, she gave me a call, and we were just chatting and catching up. And then at the end of the call, she said, by the way, I have another reason for calling you. And I said, why? And she told me about your organization. And she asked if I could come on and do a little something. And I said I was delighted. And she just sounded so relieved. But for me, it's good practice when, you know, to do the shows on Zoom, to meet all these different people. And in my tribe, we call it a mitzvah. So I'm very happy to be here. Now, you know, I want to say that I am happy that I just got my second Moderna vaccination. So I'm really glad about that. You know, we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. And the reason I was able to get my vaccination was because I volunteer in a local hospital, visiting with the patients. And, you know, the program was suspended since March, but they want to bring us back by the end of the year. And I'm looking very forward to it because I really loved visiting with them. And I remember when I started 3 years ago, I went into this patient's room and he, you know, with the background noise, some might have to mute if, you know, because it's a little distracting. But do you hear somebody else speaking? Yeah, it's
like a radio or TV.
Yeah. Is it possible to mute them?
If I know who it is, I can, or I can mute everybody.
Okay. Yeah, if it's going to be noise, it may be better to be muted.
Yeah, I think it's Connie.
That worked.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, you know what? I remember I went into this patient's room. When I first started, I went into this patient's room and he asked me to check and see if his testicles were black. Well, I was a little hesitant. So what I did, I just picked up the side of the blanket when he said to me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, you asked me if your testicles were black." And he said, "I did not. I asked you if my test results were back." Oh my God. I was so embarrassed. So when I went home and I told my husband what happened, he said to me, "Val, I think you better get a hearing aid." And I told him, I don't like Gatorade. You know, when I was growing up, I was very embarrassed about my last name. I don't know if some of you can identify with having, you know, a difficult name or a funny name. My last name was actually Horney, Horney. And I don't know what my parents were thinking because my full name was Valerie Donna Horney. So throughout high school, I was known either as Horny Valerie or VD Horny. So I am very happy to say today that my name is Valerie Libasci. I'm 73. Actually, I will be 74 next month. I'm married and I am no longer horny. And you know what? When I started working and got out of school, I started to pronounce it Horney, which made me sound very sophisticated until I opened my mouth. And, you know, when I started going to comedy classes, I was almost 70. And I have to tell you that I had meat in my freezer older than most of my classmates. And, you know, many women in comedy, they don't tell their age, but I actually don't have a problem with it. Because when I perform for a younger audience and they hear my age, it works for me because they applaud just because I'm still alive. But you know, when everything is relative, because when I visit my friends in Century Village in Boca, I'm considered jailbait because I'm one of the few women that still has my original hips. You know, one guy came up to me and he asked me if I wanted him to be my sugar daddy. And I said, why? Do you have a lot of money? And he said, no, I have diabetes. Well, I was feeling pretty good about myself. But when I got home, I was feeling pretty good about myself. But reality set in when I was taking my morning walk and I happened to pass a cemetery. 2 guys were running after me with shovels. Well, but anyway, seriously, for any older gentleman, if they want to meet women, Florida is the place to go. Because if you have a pulse and you drive, you're considered a catch. You know, my friends and I were sitting around by the pool and we heard this woman, there were 2 women having a conversation with a gentleman who apparently didn't look familiar to them. So one of them asked him if he was new to the development. And when he said yes, the other woman said, I can't help but notice you look a little pale. Where did you live before coming here? And he said, well, actually, I just got out of prison for murdering my wife. Well, without missing a beat, they both said, oh, you're single? Now, have any of you heard the expression opposites attract?
Yeah.
Well, that describes my husband and me. Because Melanie, you could vouch for this. I'm quite a talker. and my husband is the exact opposite. He would be so delighted if I was a mime. And, you know, I sometimes wonder if a mime got arrested, would he be told he has the right to remain silent? You know, I know that I have that right. I just don't have the ability. When telemarketers call our house and I pick up the phone and they hear my voice, they hang up on me. You know, my people who know me well, if they're in a hurry, they know not to ask me an open-ended question because I don't know how to end a conversation. It's terrible. And, you know, when I ask my husband about his day, he will answer in one of 2 ways. He'll either say uneventful or not as interesting as yours. But when he would ask me about my day, I was off to the races. But now, after 23 years of marriage, I learned to read his body language. So when I start talking, and all of a sudden I see his eyes glaze over, they start to roll back in his head, he starts to slump in his chair. I know it's time for me to stop talking. But the very first time that happened, I panicked. I was almost going to call 911 until I took his pulse. But you know what's so ironic? He talks in his sleep, and it drives me crazy because he mumbles and I can't understand what he's saying. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said to her, I don't know what I could give Tony that would make him stop talking in his sleep. So she said, well, why don't you give him a chance to talk when he's awake? You know, we're actually in a second marriage. And when I got married the first time, I was so young, naive, and totally inexperienced. I was very nervous about our wedding night. And my husband, that was the old days, you could tell about that. But anyway, my husband had a sense of that. And so he said to me, Val, would you prefer the missionary position? Well, then I really got hysterical because I thought he wanted me to move to a third world country and join the Peace Corps. You know, it was the 60s, and we bought a waterbed. Any movement on that bed made me feel like I was getting seasick. Instead of birth control pills, I was taking Dramamine. You know, one day my husband said to me, you know, I can't remember the last time we had sex. I said, well, I do. So there's not going to be much of that anymore. So anyway, that's when he started calling the bed the Dead Sea. And, you know, I remember when we first got married, when we were dating, actually, he was very polite. He was always a gentleman and always opened the car door for me. And when we got married, that continued. But after a while, it was when he was driving. Then he also became a workaholic. Anytime I mentioned work, he got drunk. And one day he told me that he promised me that he was going to look for a job. Well, when he came home later that afternoon, he said he did get an interview, but he didn't get hired for the job because he was told he was overqualified. I said, overqualified? Where was the job? It was at the sleep clinic. And then we started having issues with communication. One day, he's gazing in my face from across the table. And what I really thought he was going to say was, Val, when I look at your face, time stands still. Instead, he said, Val, you have a face that could stop a clock. Well, after that, don't ask, things really went downhill. And he got so paranoid that he would not eat anything that I cooked because he was convinced I was trying to poison him. He even reached out to our rabbi, who suggested that we both come in, he'd see each of us separately, and then at the end of the session, he would bring us in together. So I volunteered to go first. Well, 2 hours later, when we came out of his office, he turned to my husband and he said, take the poison. Then I went to a psychic and she told me that my husband was going to die a bloody and a violent death. So then I said, oh yeah, will I be acquitted? So we did eventually divorce, and I joined Parents Without Partners. I don't know if anybody ever heard about that. Yeah. It's a single parents organization. And that's where I met my husband, Tony. And that organization was really something because most of the men went for much younger women. I would see a couple and I couldn't tell if they were on a date or if the guy was babysitting. One time I overheard this guy asking a woman out for dinner, and when he asked her where she wanted to go, she said McDonald's. He says, McDonald's? Are you kidding me? So she said, okay, we'll go anywhere that you want to go, as long as they have crayons so I can color the placemats. But you know what? We were actually the exception, because I'm a year and a half older than my husband. And so I guess that makes me a cougar and him my boy toy. Now, he's Italian and I'm Jewish. And, you know, we have a lot of that combination in both of our families. So we call ourselves the Kosher Nostra. And I'm thank you. And I'm really happy to say that religion is not an issue. Okay, he buys retail. And also, I had to explain to him that the high holidays have nothing to do with marijuana. But you know what's really interesting? When we visit his family, all of the men are always doing home improvement projects. The wife is always showing the new cabinets that he put in the kitchen. He's building a deck. He's extending a room. You go to visit my family, they're all sitting around getting estimates. You know, let me you know, but I have great memories of my childhood. I grew up in the Bronx, surrounded by my mother's very colorful family. We lived in an apartment building with a lot of class, all low. If you came to our house, you could eat from the floor, like literally, because the coffee pot was always on and there was so much food all over the place. The bugs in our house had acid reflux. But you know what? Everybody loved coming there, particularly my uncle. And they were characters. They were the kind of guys you had to take everywhere twice, once to introduce them and the second time to apologize. But you know what? Their claim to fame was they opened up the first kosher Japanese restaurant and they called it Sosumi. Let me just see. Now, and you know, I remember when my cousin got married, about a couple of weeks after, my aunt stopped over and everybody wanted to know how the newlyweds were doing. And my aunt said, my daughter-in-law treats my son like God. And my mother said, Mary, that's wonderful. Do you mean she loves, honors, and worships him? And she said, no, she ignores him till she wants something. You know, but, and you know what? My mother was no Martha Stewart. She was a little more like James Stewart, I think. But anyway, I remember when I was in elementary school, we used to have assembly once a week. And the boys would have to wear white shirts and the girls would have to wear white blouses. When I would ask my mother to iron my blouse, she would tell me, put it on, it'll straighten out on your back, you know? I guess that's what the doctor meant when he said she had an iron deficiency. but you know what? My mother showed, like, you know, loved us, but she showed love like with food. Our house had the best snacks in the house, and it was great. But she didn't like waste, and so we had to belong to the Clean Plate Club, because in Yiddish she used to say it was a neveda to waste food, which means it's a sin to waste food. And she used to say that children in Europe were starving. Now, how me finishing everything on my plate helped them, I'll never know. But I do know it started a lifetime of me of compulsive overeating, because I'm slim now because I'm down 40 pounds from my top weight for over 28 years. But as a kid, I was chubby and I was never tall. So I was like short, very bottom heavy, like short and wide. And I remember one day I was going to meet a friend of mine on the corner and I was wearing a blue dress. And when I opened my mouth to yawn, would you believe somebody tried to drop a letter in it? Oh. And let me just just 1 second.
Wow, that was Good.
And you know, my best friend had dimples, and she had a very full face, and she had these big dimples, and I was jealous. I really wanted dimples. I mean, I used to go like this, whole thing. I prayed for them, and you know what? Actually, I did get them, but I should have been more specific because they're not on my face. They're on my thighs. And you know what? I don't even like to eat cottage cheese, and that's what they look like. I know it's not a good visual, but you know, when you get to be this age and you've yo-yo dieted for years, like that's what happens. So after retirement, I joined a gym with the Silver Sneakers program. It's free, you know, and I would go 5 times a week. I would do the machines a little bit, but I don't like exercise to feel like exercise. So my favorite thing to do was Zumba, which if you're not familiar with it, it's I love it. It's like a great dance workout, and it's mostly Latin music, but it could be some hip hop. And I have no trouble keeping up, even though I am the oldest one in the class. So to fit in, I bought some cool outfits, you know, the spandex pants, some nice tops, and the sports bras. Well, during the pandemic, when the gyms closed down, I looked on YouTube and I found Zumba videos on YouTube, but I didn't want to waste my good gym clothes in the house. So I would just throw on a pair of sweats and a t-shirt. Well, one day I'm coming down the steps to do my Zumba, and my husband looks up and he said to me, "Val, what the heck is wrong with your knees? They look very swollen." I said, "Nothing's wrong with my knees. I'm just not wearing my bra."
Ooh.
Well, listen, there was a method to my madness, because a friend of mine told me that for a woman my age, if I take into account the weight of my breasts combined with the effects of gravity, if you go braless, it actually helps pull all the wrinkles out of your face. It's like cheaper than plastic surgery, you know? Anyway, but you know what, ladies, I have good news for you, because actually I heard that women with a little extra weight on them live longer than the men who mention it. Also, most of the time, generally single women are slimmer than married women. Now, the reason for that is when single women come home, they look in their refrigerator and then they go to bed. When married women come home, they look in their bed and then they go to the refrigerator. You know what? The other night when I got home, I told my husband, I just ran into our new neighbors. And he said, "Oh, that's good. How did that go?" I said, "Well, we exchanged phone numbers and insurance information. You know, now that I'm older, I don't like driving anymore, particularly at night, because I don't see as well. But when I was young, I could not wait to get my license. I remember at the time, my boyfriend took me for my road test. Well, when I passed, I was so excited and so happy. I said to him, "Would you be an angel and let me drive?" And he did. And he is.
Oh, no.
Actually, I'm driving over 40 years. And in that whole time, I only got 2 tickets, one for parking and one for manslaughter. When I went to traffic court, the judge said to me, "You know, you look very familiar. Were you ever up before me?" I said, "I don't know. What time do you get up?" Anyway, you know, during the pandemic, like I don't even drive on parkways, even though I'm driving so long. And during the pandemic, when the banks were closed, my husband had to do all the banking, because I have a bank card, but I don't even like to use it because I'm such a talker. I make friends with the tellers. I don't use the machines, and I don't go to the drive-through windows. But one day as I passed by, I did see somebody walk into the bank. So I figured maybe they were open. So I was able to get in the lobby, but you still couldn't get through to the tellers, but there was a security guard there. So I said to the security guard, would it be possible, can somebody just check my balance? So he stared at me and then he told me to stand on one foot. But you know what? Another good thing that happened during the pandemic lately, as I was catching up with all my doctor's appointments, they finally stick to some kind of schedule because of the social distancing. They're not overbooking. And I'm very patient. Like when I go to a doctor's office, I don't mind that much, even waiting, because I always bring a book with me if I'm, waiting in the waiting room. Absolutely. But I detest when they keep me waiting in the exam room, because generally I'm sitting on a table with one of those paper gowns, one size fits all, that doesn't fit my all. And I'm thinking that he forgot about me. I'm really getting nervous. The door's shut. I'm getting claustrophobic. Anyway, when he finally comes in, after he greets me, the next two words are always the same: slide down. And I'm thinking to myself, is this really necessary when I'm at the ophthalmologist? And you know what? One day when I was on the way out, I heard this woman talking to the receptionist, and she was telling her, she said, this is the third time I'm bringing my husband's glasses back.
All right, let's go ahead.
And so the receptionist apologized and asked her what the problem was. And she said, my husband is still not seeing things my way. But it reminds me, my husband has lower back issues. And during the pandemic, it was hard to get an appointment. So his orthopedist prescribed, I think, muscle relaxers, something of that sort. And so when my husband went to the pharmacy to pick up the prescription, he asked if there would be any side effects. So he was told that he may get headaches, dizziness, and stomach upset when he hears how much they cost. And it's funny because they got the wrong one when it was my husband, because one time he found out that he was getting a placebo. So he paid in counterfeit money. But I have to tell you that, you have to have a sense of humor when you're getting older, really, because, there were so many things that, your hearing is not as well, you don't see as well, your memory is getting not so good. Couldn't think of the term. That's not even planned. That just happened. But I have to tell you, the upside of that is I really do get a lot of stuff for my stand-up comedies, particularly when I do senior homes and everything like that. Like with, in fact, when I went to the doctor, and this is a true story, when I went to the doctor and I'm getting the eye exam, he tells me, he goes, Val, your eyelids are drooping. They're drooping down. They're covering some of the pupil. And he said, and he said, they're not affecting anything now, but, if they droop more, it can change your prescription because it covers it. And I says, at my age, I thought everything that drooped already. Like, what's left, with drooping? And then they call this, instead of the golden years, I kid around and I call it the rusty years, or I call it the wonder years, because you wonder where your keys are, you wonder where your phone is, you wonder where you're parked, and you wonder what you're going to get next. I mean, it's really crazy. So a couple of months ago, my library was hosting a memory workshop. AARP was having a memory workshop. So I have a friend of mine. She was like, I talk openly about this because I'm glad I'm still here at my age. My friend says she doesn't want to get old. I told her I'll give her a gun. But anyway, I said, I'm going to go to this memory workshop. So she said, I don't really need it, but are they serving coffee and cake? I'll go to get out of the house and I'll go with her. So she comes with me. And the group is talking, and this one woman raises her hand and she goes, you know, when I leave the house, I always have to go back to check that I shut off the oven, that I pulled the plug from the iron, that the water's off. Like, I'm very nervous. I don't trust myself. So I raised my hand and I said, you know, I have to remember to make a list when I go to the store. And then I have to remember to take the list with me because if I don't, when I get in the store, I'll buy everything except what was on the list. It's crazy. Yep. So then my friend raises her hand and she goes, you know what? Thank God I don't have any of these issues yet. Knock wood. Who is it? Anyway, then another day, I go to Target and I met a former neighbor of mine who I hadn't seen in a really long time. And our boys used to play together. So boys, my son's going to be 50 in November. I can't believe it. Anyway,
yeah, Michael.
We're talking in the store, and she takes out a snapshot of her son, and he's huge, like a football player. So I said to her, wow, he got really big. Does he work out? And she said, Val, don't you remember he was always a big kid? Do you remember the nickname I had for him? She said, and I could have sworn she said turkey legs. So I go, yeah, he looks like a turkey legs. And she looks at me and she says, I said Hercules. But it's crazy. And you should hear some of the conversations I have with my husband when we're watching television. And I hear one thing, and I mean, he just thinks I'm kidding around. But anyway, I was telling, when I got home, I was telling this other neighbor what happened. And this neighbor told me, she said, Val, you know what? She says, I've actually been wearing a hearing aid for years. I never knew it. It's like very tiny, you know? And she said to me, she said, she says, I love it. It's very expensive. You know, I said, well, how expensive? What is it? So she said, $10,000. I said, $10,000. So she said, yeah, but it's worth every penny because it picks up the minutest sound. I said, but $10,000. What kind is it? She said, 11 o'clock. Anyway, you know what? I have to tell you, I'm so happy that you invited me because, first of all, you know, when I'm doing this 3 years and I do perform mostly with other comics, like in clubs, so I get like a 10-minute set or something, but I've gotten a lot of jobs by word of mouth. So since it's been on Zoom, I've gotten jobs for longer sets, like 15, you know, sets where I did a temple with somebody that it was an hour or something, but I split it with another person. I mean, this is kind of a big thing for me. So first of all, I want to thank you for being a very enthusiastic audience. You're giving me confidence, you know. but you know what's interesting? The comedy clubs are finally opening up April 2nd. So I'm going to be doing a live show April 10th. And so I'm really glad to be getting out there again. But you know what? I miss going to shows and being entertained.
Yeah.
And I the last concert that I went to was 4 years ago to see Barbara Streisand at the Nassau Coliseum. And it was right after they redid the Coliseum. But I have to tell you, there was still not enough bathroom facilities for women with all the improvements. And by the time the intermission came, I had to go to the bathroom so badly that I rushed out of my seat because I didn't want to miss any part of, you know, the second part of the show. When I got down there, the line for the ladies' room was out the door already. And there was no line in the men's room. So I said, you know what? I'm sneaking in there. So there was complete silence. And then all of a sudden, I hear this low voice say, wow, how cool. This is the first time I ever saw a transgender. Maybe it was my haircut, you know. But then I said, wow, how cool. This is the first time I'm going to use a urinal. But anyway, this really triggered a childhood memory, because I remember, I think I was in kindergarten or first grade. We had a class picnic in a local park, but the bathrooms were kind of far away. So if a little girl had to go to the bathroom, the teacher would tell her, go behind the tree and be careful not to wet your shoes. But if a boy had to go to the bathroom, she would just tell him to go behind the tree. No warning about the shoes. Well, I overheard this and it made me curious. So when I saw a boy go behind the tree, I spied on him. And when he was finished with his business, I thought to myself, isn't that a handy little gadget to bring on a picnic? Anyway, you know, I can't believe that it's a year since the pandemic, because first of all, I have to, in the morning, because I get up in the morning, I meditate, I have this whole ritual stuff that I do, but I have to really look at the newspaper and look at the calendar, because I journal to see what day it is. It's so crazy. You know, when you don't work and you're home all the time, it's hard to keep track. And to see that it's, you know, this weekend we changed the clocks back already, you know, and it's spring. And spring happens to be my favorite season, not only because of the weather, but because Passover comes out in the spring. Now, I'm not even religious, but I love a bargain. And in my area, about 3 weeks before Passover, all the supermarkets will give you 5 pounds of matzah if you spend $50. Well, I have enough matzah to feed a third world country and still eat it daily for the rest of the year. But while this seems like a good thing, it could really be a problem, because matzah is very binding. It goes in, never wants to come out. Now, if anybody here can relate to this, I have excellent news. I heard that Manischewitz is manufacturing a new high fiber brand of matzah, and the logo on the box is, "Let my people go." Okay, guys, you know, I could probably have more, but this was the order how I had for my set. We could hang out. You could ask me stuff. You know, you tell me what to do. I have, my evening is free.
That was terrific, Val. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I think we all agree that comedy is healthy and therapeutic, and it's a way to put the COVID pandemic behind us, at least for a few minutes. You made me blush a few times. I wasn't expecting some of that language or references, but that's great. And it realizes how much I've missed really good comedy, which this was. So I know we've gotten a couple of questions. Someone asked where you're going to appear live in early April.
Okay, that's it's a place which I've never was there before. It's called the Loft, and it's in Belmore, New York. And I mean, it's not, you know, like, I'm not a big shot, you know, I'm not that I do all solos. Like, there's generally a host of other people on the show, you know, and I get a set there. So the flyer's not out yet. I don't know. You know, I can send it to Melanie when it comes out, you know, if any. Now, where are you located? Where is the meeting taking place?
We're all over. Some of us are in Westchester County. Some of us are in Rockland County. I know Karen's in New Jersey. We have Richard's. Where are you, Richard?
Rockland.
Richard has his mouth full, so I'm not going to embarrass him.
Okay.
Harold is in Connecticut.
Yeah.
We have someone on from Indiana. So we are all over.
Yeah. Because when I do perform live, it's, you know, it's so funny. I got into this totally for the fun of it. And my husband has a friend who for 14 years has been doing an open mic in the East Meadow Library for seniors. So it's mostly retired people that go to it. My husband actually played ball with this guy. I mean, he performed in the Borscht Belt and all of that stuff. So it's, when I retired, I went there, it's free, you know, on a Monday afternoon, the last Monday in the month, on Mondays, so he holds this thing. So after I retired, I went there in the audience, you know, it's the audience, and it was free, and I laughed and everything. And by the second month I went there, I said to myself, like, I'm a little funny. I could probably do this too. So I asked this guy, Mark Breyer, if I could do it. He said, yeah, bring some stuff. And when I came the next month, I didn't have anything original. I had jokes that I knew, you know, just knew. But I got the laugh. It was really funny. And that day, when I came home, there was an ad for the comedy class. Like, it was just Bichette that happened, you know, and I decided to join the comedy class. But a lot of people who I perform with are much younger, so they're competitive. They go to open mics to get a lot of jobs and stuff. I don't really scout things, but it's been word of mouth, because I joined a contest for AARP and I came in second place. And somebody on the contest, it was for comedians over 50. And somebody on the contest recommended me. So, like, I'll get from a deli because somebody heard about me, or, you know, and that's how it's been happening. So I generally perform, because I don't like to drive all over. So, like, in Nassau County, where I live, if it's Suffolk County or Queens, my husband drives me. He's like my roadie. But now with Zoom, I've had the opportunity to be like in Jersey, that, you know, open mic. So it's going to be a little hard to get back to standing on the stage. I mean, today I'm actually wearing a nice outfit with the pants showing. Generally, I have a nice top and I have sweatpants on the bottom, but today I'm in a full outfit, you know. But yeah, now you could tell I talk a lot because you just asked where I was entertaining, so that gives you something. Okay, next question.
If anyone has a question of Val or wants to make a comment about her performance or anything else, maybe you're a frustrated comedian yourself.
Prefer Zoom, so now they can stay home, right? It's true. It's true. I mean, for the winter months, it was great. You know, it was great. But you know what? Well, I have, even though this is a comedy show, and you have, what exactly does your I looked it up online, and I know it makes, you know, people aware of the thing, but I don't, like, what do you exactly do? Is it services for people, or what is your actual function, this organization? Someone tell me.
In addition to the chapters throughout the country, and there are many of them, there's a national organization that provides terrific information to people. They're a resource. They advocate in front of Congress to get bills passed, insurance for hearing aids. They are close to $10,000. Medicare. They help veterans. Hearing loss is the #1 cause of combat injury today. So we're very active in that. So those are some of the programs. Right. On a local basis, we advocate for looping. That's where there's a device in a public accommodation or a medical office that enables people with hearing aids or cochlear implants to hear very clearly. Okay. We try to educate people. We're a forum to socialize, where we meet each other. So life is not so isolating, especially during COVID. So if I've left anything out, please feel free to fill in.
Yeah. I mean,
Melanie?
that's
okay. We also have, when we get back to normal living, once a year, a national convention. All the people in the United States, we go, I think the next one is going to be in New Orleans or California, I'm not sure. And we have like over 1,500 people. They have workshops. even for hearing people, also how to handle the hard of hearing people. They have, like Steve said, there's a lot of bills that we're fighting for, the ADA, the American Disability Act, so we could do a lot better. Growing up, I didn't have that much. I couldn't hear that well on the phone. I couldn't really go to the movies. There's a lot of things I couldn't do. But now I go to the theater, I go Broadway play, they have all these devices, and it's really, really good.
That's wonderful.
They also have every year, well, we've been doing it through the computer, called Walk for Hearing. We raise money, you know, like for diabetes or MS, and we go to a park, we have hundreds of people, and we have fun. We have 3.1 mile walk that we do. And there's a lot of other things. It helped me a lot. I learned about the cochlear implant. I met many, many new friends.
It's wonderful.
I have a good time.
That's excellent. I mean, first of all, I mean, you know, I was exaggerating some of it for the show, but some of the stuff we do not hear as well as we used to. But I do a lot of senior centers, and, you know, I have friends all this age that it's coming to. So it is very informative. You know, you need somebody to get, you know, if somebody needed some information, you know, I would have this as like call them, you know, and you know, to find something out. So I'm glad that I did this. It's very worthwhile organization. So thank you for having me.
We also, like people with hearing loss, they were asked for an audiologist or where to go for a hearing aid. They would try to lead that person near a chapter where they live.
Right.
And will help them with referral where to go and how to get help.
Another important program we do on a local basis, we have a college scholarship program. We've given out over 30 college scholarships to high school students who are going on to pursue higher education. So we're very proud of that. And that's funded by the Walk for Hearing.
That's wonderful. And does your organization, like when you meet, do they pay dues or anything, or no, it's just free?
We have very modest dues. We don't turn anyone away. All of our events are open to the public, whether they're paid members or not.
Okay. No.
We're gonna have to add Valerie to our list. We have like a newsletter that goes out. We have updates that goes out, and it's informative.
Yeah, no, I listen.
I'll speak to my communications guy, okay, Roy?
That's my husband.
Oh. Okay, good to see you, Roy. We're gonna have to meet. We're gonna have to meet in person one of these days.
Yes, definitely. I mean, one of the things that I always like to say is Melanie is deaf and I've got selective hearing.
That's funny.
Okay, so again, at the end of all of our meetings, we encourage you to stay on the line and socialize with each other. Express any thoughts you have, your own experience with hearing loss. Please identify yourself. Valerie, you're welcome to stay with us, but we really appreciate your time. Okay. And I will send you a copy of the recording.
For sure.
And I'm sure other people would like to see it as well.
Okay, thank you so much. It was lovely to meet you. And I really enjoyed the evening as well. So take care. Maybe our paths will cross again. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you, Valerie.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Okay, now how do I do it?
Mel, you said New Orleans. That's for Cochlear New Orleans in 2023. I believe HLAA is going to be in Tampa next year.
Right.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
And New Orleans will follow the next year. They're going to reschedule San Diego, which was going to be this June.
Right.
It's going to be virtual.
Right.
Maybe that will work into the cycle.
And 2023 will be in, 22 will be in Tampa, And then Cochlear is 2023. They changed it from February to May. But keep in mind that possible, it's being in the planning stage, a New York State one. Yeah. So that'll be possibly October 22.
And that's going to be in Saratoga Springs?
No, Lake George.
Oh, Lake George. Okay. Okay.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's beautiful in Lake George.
You know, in October, it'll be nice. Mm-hmm. And it's a drive. You know, you don't have to fly. You could just get in the carpool and drive up.
Yep, we should have some very good speakers. Some of the manufacturers and reps will be there as well, demonstrating their products. So,
I'm on the committee now. So I have a meeting Saturday. So, you know, I can't wait to see how it comes together.
I did one with Karen Ratner. We were co-chair of one of the New York State conference in White Plains. And I still have the program book somewhere in the house.
Did you invite other chapters? I mean, out of state?
Yeah.
Like New Jersey, Connecticut, and...
Right, we have one that was a tri-state, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. That's why I recall hearing, what was the theme? Hearing for now.
Okay.
I can't remember. I have to see if I can find the program book. Okay.
Okay.
All for to hear, because there were 4 states involved. That's something. Okay, can't remember.
That if they were to do something like that, then it would be more people.
Yeah.
You know, like these country clubs where
so what else is happening, people?
Yeah, somebody got their TV on in the background.
Oh, come on. Anybody got to say anything? Dan, Robert, Likely?
No, I got my first shot. I have to wait for the second one. Roy got the first shot.
Where did you park?
Right in White Plains County Center.
Right by the parkway?
Right across the street from the county center, across the parkway.
Diagonal, there's a big parking lot. So pay about $1.
I had no problem. I was in and out in 45 minutes, but you have to sit for a half an hour to make sure you have no reaction.
I thought it was only 15 minutes.
It depends. It depends on your health circumstances.
Health issues.
Some people are 15 minutes. Some people are longer.
And your father got it too, right?
Yeah. All 3 of us got it within 2 weeks.
So Roy went already?
Yeah, I went.
I took him on Tuesday.
Oh, everybody went. I got one of the first appointments, and you all went before me.
You know who's getting one tomorrow? Ann. Ann was able to change her appointment. She got another place closer. She didn't want to wait till April.
No, I know. She texted me at 9:30 last night. I got an appointment for Thursday. Mine is Sunday. My first one is Sunday.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You won't have a problem.
I can't wait, so I couldn't think about flying.
No, I'm not ready to fly. Nope.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it in June.
Nope.
I'm thinking about it. You get what, Melanie? The worst state in the country, Texas.
Yeah.
And they have no mandates now. You can walk around with no mask. full capacity in restaurants and everything. Nope.
But my friend told me they're wearing them.
I know.
Yeah.
So. Oh, well. So, hello, Harold.
Yeah, Harold.
How are you? How is everybody?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good.
How are you? How's Connecticut?
The snow is melting.
Okay.
That's good.
Dan, you're in Long Island? Dan?
He's muted.
No, you're...
Not hearing you.
Everything okay?
Okay, you working? You're out in Long Island?
Okay.
From home? You're working from home?
Yeah, no, I'm working part-time. Sometimes I work from home. Sometimes I work out at the boat.
You're in Long Island, right?
Yeah.